Something just changed, and it could reshape the story around Donald Trump's business and political power. In the last few hours, reports suggest a court order has moved to limit Trump's control over the Trump Organization, the company that carries his name and has helped define his public image for decades. At nearly the same time, Warren Buffett's name is being pulled into the conversation after online claims and commentary surged about what he thinks of Trump-linked business culture and risk. Analysts believe these two storylines together are creating a fresh pressure point, not just for Trump, but for how Americans see power, money, and accountability. And here's the big question tonight. What happens when a political figure built on a successful business leader image suddenly faces legal control limits around that very business? The court move that hit the Trump Organization story at its core for years, Trump's brand hasn't only been about politics. It has also been about the idea that he is a hard-driving business builder, a person who runs things and wins. That is why this moment is so sensitive. According to reporting and commentary circulating across media, the legal fight around property values and financial statements has been escalating. The core issue, as it's often described, is this: did the Trump Organization give very different values for the same assets depending on the situation, like one value when speaking to lenders and another when dealing with tax officials? Supporters of Trump argue these kinds of disputes can be political, unfair, or exaggerated. Critics argue the pattern shows something deeper and more serious. Either way, the legal stakes are real, and the process is moving fast in the public eye. And now, the most dramatic part. Sources indicate the court stepped in with an emergency-style action that goes beyond fines or single penalties, aimed at who gets to make decisions inside the organization. To viewers at home, it can sound simple. A judge said this, a judge said that. But in business terms, it's a different kind of pain, because it's not just about money, it's about control. Why a control matters more than headlines. When people think about a company, they think about buildings, golf resorts, brands, and logos. But the real power is in the decisions: who approves deals, who signs off on spending, who chooses leadership, who can move money, who can access internal systems. If control is limited or transferred, even temporarily, it changes everything about how a business runs day to day. And politically, it changes the story Trump tells about himself, because Trump's political identity has often leaned on the idea that he understands business better than a career politician's. So if the courts restrict his ability to direct his own company, it raises a damaging contrast. The man who says he can run the country being blocked from running his own organization. That's why analysts believe this moment hits harder than a normal legal update. The financial pressure behind the scenes public reporting over the years has often pointed to a complicated reality. Much of Trump's wealth is connected to real estate, branding, and properties, not always simple cash sitting in an account. And when a legal cloud hangs over properties and valuations, that can affect loans and refinancing options, partnerships, and future deals, confidence among lenders, internal company stability, even if Trump fights back in court. And he has signaled he will. The short-term impact can still be huge, because the market reacts to uncertainty quickly, and business partners often do not wait for final decisions. They move early to protect themselves. That's when you start seeing the scramble effect. People stepping away, lawyers tightening advice, executives preparing for the worst. Now, the second shock, Warren Buffett's name, enters the picture almost at the same moment this legal story intensified. A second narrative surged: Warren Buffett and Trump. To be careful here, there is a lot of rumor-driven content online, and not everything being shared is verified. But the reason this matters is bigger than any single quote. Buffett has a long-standing reputation for valuing stability, real numbers, and long-term trust. He rarely makes personal attacks, and he is widely seen as a symbol of a traditional American business discipline. That's why when Buffett is linked to criticism, even indirectly through commentary, past interviews, or broader warnings, it hits differently than a normal partisan voice. And analysts believe the Buffett angle adds a new kind of damage, not legal damage, not a court ruling. but reputational damage inside business circles. Because if the story becomes this empire is built on image, not fundamentals, that narrative can scare away exactly the people Trump often wants to impress: donors, deal makers, and financial players. Search results show ongoing discussion around Trump-related business and court oversight themes, including headlines and videos framing the situation as a major corporate control moment. Source: the loyalty pattern. And why it keeps coming up. Another thread that keeps resurfacing in commentary is the idea of loyalty. People who once stood close to Trump in politics and business have over time ended up split into two groups: those who stay loyal no matter what, those who distance themselves when legal risk rises. Reports suggest that when investigations tighten, business networks often protect themselves first. Accountants, attorneys, lenders, everyone begins asking the same question: what is my exposure? And when that question spreads through an organization, it can create internal cracks. Employees unsure who is really in charge, executives worried about their own names being connected, partners stepping back from deals, donors wondering if the brand is becoming a liability. That's why this doesn't stay a business story. It becomes political. The Republican Party impact. A split that could widen politically. This kind of story can force a choice inside Trump's own orbit. Some Republicans may treat it as proof of unfair targeting. So others may see it as an opening to move forward without directly attacking Trump's supporters. And major donors, who often care about electability and stability, may start asking sharper questions behind closed doors, because it's one thing to support a candidate under attack. It's another thing to support someone whose central business identity is under legal restriction. And the optics matter. If court officials and outside oversight are involved, the images and headlines can be hard to brush away with messaging alone. The bigger question: does the system still have guardrails? This is where the story becomes larger than Trump. Because the real test isn't only will Trump win an appeal, it's also, can institutions apply rules consistently under extreme political pressure? Some Americans will see this as accountability. Others will see it as persecution. That divide is not going away. But the stakes are clear. If courts and oversight hold firm, supporters of the system will say it proves nobody is above the rules. If it collapses or reverses under pressure, critics will argue the system can't enforce its own standards when power pushes back. And that brings us to what happens next. Because if a receiver, monitor, or court-directed oversight is truly in place, even for a limited window, then the next phase is the most dangerous for Trump politically and financially. What do investigators and court officers find when they go deeper into the books, the records, the emails, and the valuations? And if that review reveals surprises, who else gets pulled into the storm?